feel sick to my stomach. I don't feel sick because of anything I ate. I just feel sick because I'm sitting here doing this right now. I mean, it's really that uncomfortable. But I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's just because I don't do it ever. I don't really talk. I don't talk to myself. I don't really talk to anybody. So it's just weird. And it feels forbidden, almost. It's like an unfortunate feeling, I think. It feels forbidden to talk. That doesn't make any sense. This is America. We got free speech. We got the freedom to say stupid shit. So of course I should be able to do this. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing right now. But to me, it feels wrong. I mean, when you live your entire life afraid to express yourself or to show any emotion or display a personality, you'll start to feel that way, that you're not allowed to. Well, I guess that's a circular argument. You don't feel allowed to because you're not allowed to. Let me restart. This is all an assumption that I've made since I was a kid. I don't know. There's no need to even get like super personal for whatever reason. That's not really like the point of what this is. Maybe it is. I don't know. I still don't really know what this is. Should I do an intro? No, intros and outros are corny. I do want to explain what this is, I guess. To do like a little bit of an overview on what I'm doing. I have way more energy, or rather I just don't feel like trash today. I have way more energy than I did the first time I tried to record this. I'm not taking like 20 seconds between each word or sentence, and I'm not like trying to throw up coney dogs. So I also feel like the initial recording was kind of like a warm up just to feel good about what I'm doing right now. To kind of break the illusion that something's going to happen if I do record by myself in an empty office on a flash drive that isn't attached to the normal setup. So it's not like I'm getting in anybody's way. It's not like I'm going to annoy anybody or embarrass myself to anyone. Unless somebody finds this secret special recording, which I doubt it. Why is this so hard? Why is this so hard to just explain what the fuck this is? I don't know, maybe it's just because it feels forced, and also because ADD makes it hard to stay on track. But yeah. This is Crash Brain. This is where I display my brain crashing in real time. All the ums and uhs and ums. Oh, that's me crashing. So what this actually is, I guess it's just kind of like an audio diary that I'm just uploading to the internet because why not? I spend a lot of time in my head. I don't really talk much. I don't talk to myself. I don't talk to people very often. You know, I don't really have like friends, as pitiful as it is to say. You know, they come and go, but usually don't stick around. And, you know, part of that's my fault. I'm just not very social. I'm introverted. I like my space. I find people kind of annoying sometimes, but as a consequence, I've become a mental shut-in. I've like become a hermit in my own brain. Throughout the day, not much of what's going on internally gets vocalized. I don't really get to talk about ideas that I have, things that I'm feeling, problems that I have personally. Usually a lot of what I talk about is just stuff that's work-related, because that's stuff that I have to talk about. But because the things in my own head aren't really things that need to be talked about. They're not explicitly necessary. I don't talk about them. There's no need to. And, part of me just feels like nobody really cares. People might just like blink and nod their heads and, oh yeah, okay, yeah. But it's just going in one ear and out the other. But you're a microphone. You're an audience. All you do is listen. And there's no response, unless it's in the comments, which I'm going to really try to not read because they're terrible. Any support is absolutely appreciated, but I know how YouTube comments can be. Anyways, yeah, I don't vocalize very much, but the thing is that despite the appearance that I give, where I kind of come off as like all business throughout the day and kind of cold, not that interested and not that thoughtful, but I do come up with a lot of relatively interesting ideas. I do have a lot to say. I am very thoughtful. I'm mostly thoughtful. And sometimes my head goes in some crazy directions. Sometimes I think that those ideas should be given to the world. Not to say that I'm coming up with anything spectacular or original or like groundbreaking, but maybe it'll help you, random viewer or listener, come to an interesting conclusion yourself. Maybe it'll help you realize something. Maybe it'll help you think of something that you haven't thought of before. Maybe it'll help you change or grow. And I think that's the value that this brings, is what it might help do for you, as well as what it might help do for me. Because just as you learn something a second time by teaching it, you begin to understand ideas better once you try to vocalize them. So this is kind of a symbiotic situation. And you know what? Maybe it'll just provide some kind of nice background noise for when you're doing chores or driving or doing whatever. It doesn't really matter. As long as this can help in some way or elicit some kind of creativity, that's more than enough. And also it's good for my other creative pursuits. If this does blow up, then I have a way of bringing an audience to my actual artistic endeavors. So there's a lot of reasons to do this. Whether or not it succeeds is kind of up to the internet. I don't know if it will. I don't know if this is actually interesting or worth posting, but we'll see. It's better than overthinking it and not doing it. That's something a lot of creatives run into, is that it's very easy to overanalyze your work and to judge its value prematurely, but you're the only one who sees it. The artist is the only one that is able to give it any value. And so it's beholden to the artist's bias and only the artist's bias. And so there is no chance to give it any additional value beyond what the artist thinks until it's shown. That's the artist's dilemma. Sometimes, I think there are a lot of dilemmas with artists. We're a psychotic people, but you don't know the value of your creation until you can... I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm very distracted. I'm looking around the room. I'm not really paying attention to my thoughts or my words or what I'm looking at. So yeah, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos just like getting recommended to me. It almost feels like a sign. It's a lot of people doing the same thing that I'm doing right now. These kinds of solo productions of a dude speaking into a microphone with like, dude, this fucking jackass will not stop honking their horn right behind me. God damn it. And I was on a roll. I've been seeing a lot of recommended YouTube videos of people doing this kind of same format of like a dude talking into a mic over video game footage. And something about it really speaks to me. There's something about like the wholesomeness or the kind of indie production of it, this self-produced piece of somebody's mind. It's very human, and it brings value to me in that I can see that other people kind of experience similar things, or it puts other problems that people are facing into perspective, or it just kind of gives like an insight into humanity. And it's fascinating. It's super candid. And it's kind of like what the internet should be, or like what I think we kind of lost on the internet is just like the ability to connect deeper with the human experience. And that's kind of what I want to bring. A lot of these channels that I see are typically really pessimistic and all about like doom and gloom and how their lives suck, and how things were better back in the day, and I'm stuck in this rut and I can't get out and I don't know what to do, and like it's almost like a cry for help, a lot of these videos. I think originally, I don't know if he was the first one to do this or if it was derivative, but I think he's the one who popularized it. It's this little known content creator named Jay Schlatt. Go check him out. He needs all the support that he can get for his channels. But the weekly slap was like the ground zero. It was the kickoff point for this trend. And you can see in the way that like Schlatt kind of started with it and then abandoned it and then came back to it after a while, that he missed it, and that it brought him a lot of value enough to return to the format. And it's a really nice thing. It humbles him, it humanizes him. And I think it helps him humanize himself because he just gets to talk about problems and just little everyday things. And I think people on the internet really appreciate that, to understand that the person across the screen is still a person. It's really cool. And I think a lot of people have taken this format to make it into a way of just venting their problems. And I hope that I don't do that too much. I'm probably going to do it because everybody's human. We're all negative creatures. We all have that negative bias. It's what we are. It helps us survive. But that's why I kind of hope that these like wacky, existential, almost philosophical ideas that I have in my head can offer something of like different value in this format. I mean, I'm trying to come up with an example. That's another issue with like ADD, is the short-term memory problems. Like on the spot, I'm really struggling to remember an example of this, but I know I have many. There was a decent portion of my life where I was like really interested in the idea of justice, or the idea of suicide, not committing suicide. Actually, wait, this is YouTube. I can't say that word. Suicide? Will that get me fucked? Subalide? Whatever. Let's just not mention that one. But topics like justice, balance, obsession. There's a YouTube channel that's kind of goes into this, or like into the topics that I really enjoy. His name is Viral Professor. He uses anime as like analogies for these topics. He just digs into really interesting topics. I think one that I've been like lingering on because it's kind of present in my own life right now is the soul, and how every human needs to fulfill their soul, and kind of that like trifecta of mind, body, and soul, and how if one is off balance with the rest of the other, or with the other two, then the entire person is out of balance and there's something like wrong. With a creative mind, or even just like being a creative in general, you kind of have a tougher time balancing those three things, because your soul is intrinsically tied to creation, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And it's not necessarily conducive to the life that we live, the system that we're born into, where we have to do the 9 to 5 and the blah, blah, blah. And so it kind of like generated that archetype of the starving artist. Like there's a reason why that's a popular idea, is because to fulfill yourself, the artist needs to move away from that 9 to 5 system, that it almost exhausts you to the point where, okay, you work 5 days a week, you have some time after work, but most of that time is just spent like doing chores and driving and doing your commute and like taking care of your other responsibilities. And then by the end of the day, you're so burnt out that like you don't want to do anything and you just want to rest. And you do that for 5 days, and then the weekend comes around, and then you have to do more responsibilities like running errands, taking care of, if you have kids, you have kids. That's a full-time job in and of itself. But the weekend kind of becomes like your capstone for the week of rest, so that you can go into next week without like wanting to die. And so the system kind of keeps you at like a net neutral, or at least that's what I've felt. I'm stuck at a net neutral. I don't have much energy to give to something else. And so that rots my soul. And so like I've needed to take a day off throughout the week. I only work 4 days a week now, just so that I can do creative stuff like this. Even though I'm recording this on the weekend, I've needed to sacrifice money. Dude, I needed to sacrifice a day of money making just to fulfill that creative need, that drive, so that my soul isn't out of balance with everything else. The problem with the starving artist is that typically they do it in the extreme, and now they don't work at all, and all their time is spent doing creative stuff. But that puts you out of balance with your body, because now you don't have the money to take care of yourself. And so it's all about finding some kind of balance. When my soul gets neglected, my mind turns very negative, and I start to be very pessimistic, and I start to look at things with a very bad eye. And then my mind becomes frustrated, and my body gets filled with rage. I can't do that anymore. It's unsustainable. It's not good for anybody around me. And that's part of the reason why I don't really have any friends. It's just because like I'm not pleasant to be around sometimes. I'm kind of an asshole. The point is, the mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul balance has been on the forefront of my mind. But that's like one of many existential conundrums that I tackle on the regular. I like to say that I have a midlife crisis every year, and I'm kind of in that right now. I've kind of been in that for a while, honestly. I think last year I was struggling with the future and the void, the kind of end of all things that was like really getting to me. Like when time ends and the universe stops being, finding a reason to continue to do anything, knowing that truth, that was like my last big existential crisis, midlife crisis of the year. That one I did find a solution for, thank God. And it's because if you're trying to find a reason to continue to go, even though you know that it's all in vain, inevitably, you have to consider the drastic leap in time that you're making. There are billions, trillions of years until that happens. And in that time, so long as, we don't blow ourselves up tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be born. A lot of people are going to be born that don't ask to be born. Just like you, just like me, just like everybody else in the world. Nobody asked to be born. And so to these future humans and to these future beings, these animals, these plants, these fungi, everything, we owe it to them to make things tolerable and if not tolerable, good. We need to spend our time trying to ensure that the future is healthy for those who did not ask to be born. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to look forward to. And as soon as we do that, then we have ensured that the future has a future. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years, let alone a billion years. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time for things to happen. And who knows what humans are going to figure out by then? Who knows if humans will figure out a way to circumvent the complete and total end of the universe? We might. We very well might. But that's not going to happen if we don't take the time now to make the present better for them, for those who are going to figure it out. That's what we need to do. It's not about the future, it's about the present. And my problem was I was looking too far ahead in the future. And I kind of came to that conclusion. I was sitting at work, just, working, trying to suppress these thoughts. And my, back started to hurt because I'm a desk jockey and I don't stretch enough. So I laid down on the floor and I just stared up at the ceiling. And time almost started to slow down. And all these thoughts presented themselves. And it almost seemed pointless to think about that stuff. I wasn't in the end of the universe laying down on the floor. I'm never going to be at that point in the universe. I was laying down on the floor of my office. That's what I was doing. And that felt comforting, to just lay there and exist in the present. To kind of have my thoughts slow down enough to exist now. And since then, I haven't really stressed the end of all existence because there's no reason to. I'm not going to face that. That's not my duty to take care of. But it is my duty to make sure that the next generation that's going to come after me or beyond can reach the point of taking care of those responsibilities for those generations. And, going off of that idea of generations taking care of their responsibilities, I'm Gen Z, which means that I grew up with the internet. We're the first generation to grow up with the internet. And man, it is wicked. My brain is all over the damn place. And the way that the internet is structured now is not helping. And so I think a lot of people are really realizing that now, that our habits that have formed around the internet are not good. And that's the least to say. And so I think Gen Z, our generation's overall responsibility is to make sure that the future generations don't get mind blended by unrestrained internet access, and that we need to kind of develop better habits for our kids and everyone else to make sure that they don't get mind rotted like we have. And part of that is think of PBS, public access television that anybody can get. We got to start making things a little bit more educational. It's boring. It's boring as balls. We can make it interesting. Educational content can be fun. I swear, I'm not 75, but that's part of the reason why I like the dude talks into a microphone and overshares his thoughts type videos, is because it's not trying to be the Subway Surfers on one screen with Family Guy clips on another and an AI voiceover of dude who's not even lip synced to the audio talking in a third portion of the screen. It's just a dude talking with some gameplay footage over it. It's even less stimulating than a Let's Play channel. It's not even trying to be funny. It's just trying to be real. And that's what we need more of. We just need to be real. We need to be present. We need to just exist. And I think this format exemplifies that perfectly. And that's why I kind of want to hop on the bandwagon before it gets too played out. Because this is important shit. This is the future. we make the future now. That's the beauty of the present. So even though I came up here to record this with butterflies in my stomach, feeling like I'm about to have diarrhea out of my mouth, I'm really glad that I sat down to do this. And it kind of became like second nature. The first recording was really difficult. This one kind of came natural. And I'm glad. I think I'm going to upload this one as kind of the introductory video on the channel. So thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Hopefully you still have a couple brain cells remaining, and you can join me next time when I upload in 6 months. Bye.